Smile a Minute IAS Academy, and today we are going to see current affairs. We are going to see international relations. In international relation, we are going to see 25 topics. So let's get started. First, WHO Foundation. So WHO Foundation is legally a separate one. It is legally a separate entity from WHO, and it facilitates the contributions from individual donors and some corporates to the WHO. But it is a legally separate entity. That is the important thing. It is a legally separate one. And now we are going to see the funds. The funding of WHO. From where WHO gets funding? WHO gets funding from its member states. The member states will pay its membership dues, right? From which WHO gets funding, and apart from it, it also gets voluntary contribution. So there are two types of funding in WHO. One is assessed contribution, another one is voluntary contribution. In assessed contribution, it gets around 20%. Assessed contribution, it gets 20%, and another one it has is voluntary contribution, and from voluntary contribution it gets 80%. So these are the types of funding which WHO gets. One is assessed contribution, another one is voluntary contribution. From assessed contribution it gets 20%, whereas from voluntary contribution it gets 80%. And in assessed contribution, the countries will pay percentage of its GDP as the assessed contribution, and the percentage of the GDP which the countries pay as the assessed contribution is determined 2 years once, and it is determined 2 years once at the World Health Assembly. So these are the things, and voluntary contribution is the one which gives a highest percentage, and the countries which contributed high in 2018 to 19 is first one is USA. USA made the highest contribution. Second we have UK, and third one is Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This is first one. So we have discussed about WHO Foundation is legally separate from WHO, and we have seen the fundings of WHO. There are two types of funding. One is assessed contribution and voluntary contribution. In assessed contribution, the countries will pay percentage of its GDP as assessed contribution, and it contributes only 20% of the funding of WHO, whereas voluntary contribution contributes the rest 80%. And this percentage of GDP is determined every 2 years once at the World Health Assembly, and the countries which contribute more to the funding of WHO is, first one is USA. USA is the highest contributor, and the second one is UK, followed by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Then we are going to see the second one. Second one is Gsp and Mfn. Gsp is generalized system of preferences, whereas Mfn is most favored nation. So GSP and Mfn, both of it comes under the WTO. We have already seen WTO, while we have seen the international organizations. While we have seen international organization, we have seen WTO. WTO is World Trade Organization. Under this, it has a principle called as Mfn, most favored nation. And we also have another one thing under WTO, which is generalized system of preferences. Both is actually a contradicting one, but both of it comes under the purview of WTO. That is the most important thing. Both of it comes under the purview of WTO, and most favored nation tells the countries to treat all the member states equally in case of trade. In case of tariffs, it says all the member countries should be treated equally according to most favored nation, whereas in a GSP, generalized system of preferences, it allows differential treatment. That is the difference. It says equal treatment, but here in GSP, generalized system of preferences, it allows differential treatment based on whether the country is developed or less developed. If the country is developed, then we can have a different treatment. If the country is less developed or developing, then we can show a different treatment to it. That is generalized system of preferences, and that is the difference between these two. So most favored nation, equal treatment for trade, equal treatment on the tariffs in the member countries, whereas GSP is generalized system of preferences. It allows differential treatment based on whether the country is developed or less developed. And in EU's, European Union's generalized system of preferences, in which India exported more. India exported more under this EU's generalized system of preferences. Under this generalized system of preferences, it provides tariff reduction on various products. So tariff reduction is given to various products. India has untapped the potential of the European Union's generalized system of preferences, and it exported more under it. And third one is we have three sisters under the WTO's SPS agreement. So first you should know what is SPS agreement. SPS is Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement. So Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement is under the WTO. WTO is World Trade Organization. Earlier also we have seen World Trade Organization, generalized system of preferences, and most favored nation. Now we are going to see Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement under the WTO. First we should know what is Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement. So if you are going to sell any agricultural product, say if you are going to sell a mango to a foreign company, if you are going to export your mangoes to a foreign foreign country, then they can set some standards. The standards, they can set some standards. Example, say they can set standards like the fertilizer and the pesticides content in the mango should be in certain limit. They can fix the certain limit of fertilizers and pesticides that can be allowed. So if our mango exceeds that certain percentage, then they will ban our mango in their country. So that is Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement. Under this, banning our mangoes is okay with World Trade Organization. So we didn't meet our standards, means they can ban it. They fix some sanitary and phytosanitary standards under this. So example, fertilizer and pesticide limit for the mangoes and agricultural products. So under this Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement, we have three sisters. There are three things which are called as three sisters under the Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement, and those are, first one is International Plant Production Convention. Second one is Codex Alimentarius Commission. And third one is World Organization for Animal Health. World Organization for Animal Health. These are the three things which are called as three sisters. First one is International Plant Production Convention, which is relating to plant. Second one is Codex Alimentarius Commission, which is relating to food safety standards. And third one is World Organization for Animal Health. The short form is OAE, World Organization for Animal Health. It is for animal health standards. These are the three things which are called as three sisters under the Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary measures. So let me repeat. There are three things which are called as three sisters under the Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary measures. Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary measures or Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement under the WTO. So WTO is World Trade Organization, under which we have Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement, under which it allows the countries to set some limit, countries to set some standard for the imported products, say fertilizer standards, pesticide standards. The amount of prescribed limit of fertilizers and pesticides can be set, and there are certain standards which can be set under the Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement. And under this we have three sisters. Three things are called as three sisters, and those are, first one is International Plant Production Convention, which is relating to plant, and then Codex Alimentarius Commission relating to food safety standards, and third one is World Organization for Animal Health. It is relating to animal health standards. These are the three things which are called as three sisters. And then we have East Economic Forum. Fourth one is we have East Economic Forum. East Economic Forum. They can ask question like East Economic Forum is related to dash. It is an initiative of dash. Actually, East Economic Forum is an initiative of Russia, and it is an international forum. It is an international forum which will be held each year in the Vladivostok in Russia. It is an international forum, and it is held each year in the Vladivostok in Russia, and it is to promote the foreign investments. It is to promote the foreign investments in the Russia's Far East. So Eastern Economic Forum, East Economic Forum or Eastern Economic Forum. Eastern Economic Forum, it is an initiative of Russia, and it is an international forum that will be held each year in Vladivostok in Russia, and it is to encourage foreign investment in the Russia's Far East. Those are the things which are relating to Eastern Economic Forum. And then we have F4R movement. F4R movement of foreign right, Faith for Rights movement. So Faith for Right movement, it is an initiative of, actually Faith for Right movement is an initiative of UN. It is an initiative of UN, and it is a UN led movement against the religious and racial haterness. It is against religious and racial haterness. So Faith for Right movements is an initiative of UN. It is a UN led movement which is against the religious and racial haterness. Then we have ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So this International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, it is a multilateral treaty. It is a multilateral treaty, and it is adopted by the United Nations General Assembly. So this International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, it is a multilateral treaty. First point, it is adopted by the United Nations General Assembly, and under this it actually says to protect the civil and political rights of the individuals. Under this, the parties should respect the civil and political rights of the individuals. Under this, we have 6 rights which are protected. Those are, we have right to life, right to religion, speech, right to form assembly, electoral right, then due process and fair trial. So these are the rights which are protected under this ICCPR. So ICCPR is nothing but International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. It is a multilateral treaty adopted by the United Nations General Assembly, and under this ICCPR, the parties should protect the civil and political rights of the individual. Under this, we have 6: right to life, right to religion, right to speech, right to form assembly, electoral rights, right to due process and fair trial. These are the things which are protected under this ICCPR. And this ICCPR it is a part of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, is a part of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So those are the things which are relating to ICCPR. Seventh one is GPAA, Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. So it is relating to artificial intelligence. It is a multi-stakeholder initiative. It is an international multi-stakeholder initiative, and it is the first meeting of its kind to promote challenges, to see the challenges relating to artificial intelligence and to see the opportunities which are lying around the artificial intelligence. So Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence is an international multi-stakeholder initiative, and it is the first meeting of its kind to see the challenges relating to artificial intelligence and the opportunities which are relating to artificial intelligence. And this GPA will bridge the gap between the reality, between the practical knowledge and the theoretical knowledge. It will bridge the gap between the practical and the theoretical knowledge, and it gives some AI projects. To bridge the gaps, it gives some AI projects. And the main thing which is relating to GPA is it is relating to artificial intelligence, and it is the global reference point on discussions on responsible artificial intelligence. So it is the global reference point on responsible artificial intelligence. So GPA is Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. It is an international multi-stakeholder initiative, and it is the first meeting of its kind to see the challenges in the artificial intelligence and the opportunities which lie around the artificial intelligence. And it is the global reference point on discussions on responsible artificial intelligence, and GPA will try to bridge the gap between the theoretical and the practical knowledge, so that it provides some artificial intelligence projects. So those are the things which are under the GPAA. And then we have BIMSTEC. Under BIMSTEC, there are certain countries which are under the BIMSTEC, and those are, for this we have an acronym, and that is BB-MINTS. BB-MINTS are the countries which are under the BIMSTEC. So BB-MINTS. BB-MINTS is Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, India, Nepal, Thailand and Sri Lanka. Bangladesh, Bhutan, this is Myanmar, India, Nepal, Thailand, finally Sri Lanka. These are the countries which are under the BIMSTEC. So the BIMSTEC member countries are, they can ask question like which of the following countries are the member countries of BIMSTEC, and they give options like 1, 2, 3, 4. They will give 4 countries, and they will ask which of the following are correct, and they will give 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. They will give options. So the member countries of BIMSTEC are BB-MINTS, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, India, Nepal, Thailand and Sri Lanka. These are the member countries of BIMSTEC. Then we have member countries of SAARC. Under SAARC, the member countries are BB in maps. So it is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Maldives, Afghanistan, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So these are the countries which are the member countries of SAARC. So the member countries of SAARC are BB in maps: Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Maldives, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. The thing which you should notice, in BIMSTEC we have Myanmar. For M we have Myanmar, whereas in SAARC we have Maldives. For M we have Maldives. This is the thing which you should note, and you should see the common countries, the countries which lie which are in both BIMSTEC and SAARC. You should know the countries which are common to both BIMSTEC and SAARC. We have Bangladesh and Bhutan, which is common to both the things. So Bangladesh and Bhutan is common to both BIMSTEC and SAARC. We have India, which is common to both BIMSTEC and SAARC, and we have Nepal, which is common to both BIMSTEC and SAARC, and we have Sri Lanka, which is common to both BIMSTEC and SAARC. These are the countries which are common to both BIMSTEC and SAARC, and those are Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Whereas in BIMSTEC we have Myanmar and Thailand. Where in SAARC we have Afghanistan, Maldives, Pakistan. So these are the things which are relating to BIMSTEC and SAARC. The member countries of BIMSTEC are BB Mins, and the member countries of SAARC are BB in maps. And then we have OEF. OEF is nothing but Operation Enduring Freedom. So you should know what it is. OEF. OEF is nothing but Operation Enduring Freedom. It is related to US government's global war against terrorism. So US government's war on terrorism, and this OEF, Operation Enduring Freedom, it is generally related to Afghanistan, but it is also, but generally if we say Operation Enduring Freedom, we generally refer it to war in Afghanistan, but it is also affiliated to counter-terrorism activities that occur in other countries also. Operation Enduring Freedom is US government's global war on terrorism, and generally they relate it to war on Afghanistan, but it is not only against war on Afghanistan, but is also against counter-terrorism, but is also on counter-terrorism war in other countries also. That is Operation Enduring Freedom. And then we have level NATO. NATO is nothing but North Atlantic Treaty Organization. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and the NATO's founding treaty is Washington Treaty. So Washington Treaty is the NATO's founding treaty, and under this we have there are around 30 member countries, and any European country in a position, if they are if they can obey the principles of this NATO, they can join, and they should also contribute to the security of this North Atlantic Sea. So any European country, the thing you should notice, any European country, they can give statements like any country can join NATO. No, any European country who can obey with the principles of the NATO and who can contribute to the security of the North Atlantic Sea can join NATO. First, any European country. Second, and NATO actually has a military capacity. Actually, it is committed to peaceful resolution of disputes, but still it has a military capacity. If there is any crisis management operation, it will use its military capacity, and they can give options like it do not have a military capacity. So NATO believes in peaceful resolution of disputes, but still it has a military capacity which can be used during crisis management operations. And these are the important points which are relating to NATO. So NATO's founding treaty is Washington Treaty. NATO has 30 member countries, and any European country who can obey the basic principles of NATO and who can contribute for the security of North Atlantic Sea can join the NATO. And NATO has a military capacity, and but it believes on the peaceful cooperation. It believes on peaceful resolution of disputes. So these are the things which are relating to NATO. NATO means North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Then we have FATF. FATF is nothing but Financial Action Task Force. Under FATF we have two lists. One is grey list, another one is black list. So Financial Action Task Force is it checks the money laundering and terrorism activities, and based on it, it keeps some countries on grey list and it keeps some country on black list. First, you should know what are the countries which comes under grey list. The countries in grey list are a safe haven for terrorism and money laundering activities. It is a safe haven for terrorism and money laundering activities, whereas the countries in blacklist are not cooperative against the money laundering and terrorism fight. We are fighting against terrorism and money laundering activities, but this blacklisted countries are not cooperative against that fight. So those are not cooperative countries, and the grey list countries are the safe haven for terrorism and money laundering activities. The countries in the grey list can enter into blacklist in future. So it is like an alarm for it. So the countries in grey list can enter into blacklist in future. So grey list is safe haven for terrorism and money laundering activities, whereas blacklist is countries that are not cooperative against the fight against terrorism and money laundering things. And the countries in grey list will suffer certain things like it will suffer for getting economic transactions, and the trade will decrease. The trade it has will decrease, and it will get problems in getting loans from IMF, World Bank and other banks. So the basic disadvantages of grey list countries is it is difficult to get economic transaction. It is difficult to get economic loans. So loans in World Bank, IMF and ADB will be difficult. There will be an international boycott, and the trade in that country will reduce. International trade will reduce. So these are the things which are relating to Financial Action Task Force. Under this we have grey list and blacklist. Grey list safe haven, whereas blacklist is not cooperative. And then we have 13. APEC. Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation. Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation is an intergovernmental. Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation is an intergovernmental forum, and it is recognized as one of the highest level multilateral blocks in Asia, and it is the oldest forums. It is one of the oldest forums in Asia Pacific region. So Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, it is an intergovernmental forum, and it is the highest level multilateral blocks in Asia, and it is the oldest forum in Asia Pacific region. And this Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, under this India is not a member. So they will ask about India only. India is not a member. It has requested membership. India has requested membership to Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, and after this requesting membership in Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, India has received support from US, Australia, Papua New Guinea and Japan has showed initial support to India. So the thing about Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation is, first, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation is an intergovernmental forum for Pacific Rim member economies. It promotes free trade throughout the Asia Pacific region. The main thing is it promotes free trade throughout the Asia Pacific region, and it is the oldest forum on Asia. It is one of the oldest forum on Asia Pacific region, and it is the highest level multilateral blocks. It is one of the highest level multilateral blocks, and India is not a member. It has requested membership, and it has received initial support from USA, Japan, Papua New Guinea and Australia has showed initial support towards India. So these are the things which are relating to APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. Then we have 14, G4. We know G7 nations, but it is G4. G7 nations generally, its main name is economy and long-term political motives. The countries in G7 have economic and long-term political motives, whereas in G4, the countries in G4 are 4 nations. There are 4 countries which are under G4. These countries, their primary aim is to get a permanent seat in United Nations Security Council. It is its main aim. Permanent seat in United Nations Security Council. It is the main aim of the countries in G4. Under G4 we have 4 countries, and that is Big J. Big J is nothing but first Brazil, India, Germany, and Japan. These are the countries under G4. So the difference between G7 and G4, G7 has economy and long-term political motives, whereas in G4 their main aim is to get a permanent seat in United Nations Security Council. Under G4 we have 4 countries, and those are Big J. Under Big J we have Brazil, India, Germany and Japan. So G4 nations are a group of 4 countries which support each other bids. Actually these countries will support each other bids for the permanent seats in United Nations Security Council. So these are the things relating to G4. Then we have UNCLOS. UNCLOS is nothing but United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas. It is a UN specialized agency. It is a UN specialized agency, and it defines the right and the responsibility of the nations to in respect to the use of ocean, in respect to the use of world's ocean. So, United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas, it is a UN specialized agency, and it tells the member countries the rights and the responsibilities of the nation in relating to the use of the world ocean. And under this UNCLOS, it has created two bodies. There are two things which are created by this UNCLOS, and one is International Seabed Authority. International Seabed Authority is established by UNCLOS, and we have another one, Tribunal, International Tribunal for the Law of Seas. International Tribunal for the Law of Seas. It is also created by UNCLOS. So, the things which are relating to UNCLOS is United Nations. UNCLOS stands for United Nations Convention on Law of Seas, and it is a UN specialized agency, and under which it states the responsibilities of the countries relating to the world use of world ocean, and it also says about the management of marine natural resources. So, it tells about the use of world ocean, and it tells about the marine natural resources, management of the marine natural resources. Under UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas, it has established two bodies. One is International Seabed Authority, and another one is International Tribunal on Law of Seas. It is the two bodies which are created by the UNCLOS. We have SAFTA. SAFTA, you should know what is this. Actually, it is an agreement. SAFTA stands for South Asia Free Trade Area. South Asia Free Trade Area. It is an agreement signed at the 12th SAARC Summit. It is an agreement which is signed at the 12th SAARC Summit to create free trade area in. It is an agreement which is signed in 12th SAARC Summit to create a free trade area in BB in maps. So, BB in maps is nothing but SAARC countries. So, all the SAARC countries are signatory of SAFTA. So, SAFTA is an agreement. SAFTA is an agreement, South Asian Free Trade Area. It is an agreement which is signed at the 12th SAARC Summit to create free trade area between Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Maldives, Afghanistan, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So, that is about SAFTA. Then let us see the full form of these things. That is enough. First, we have Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, under which we have some countries. There are certain countries which are under Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and those are PUTCRIC. So, PUTCRIC. The full form is, first one is Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Russia, India, China, finally Kyrgyzstan. So, the countries in Shanghai Cooperation Organization is Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Russia, India, China, Kyrgyzstan. So, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Russia, India, China, Kyrgyzstan. These are the countries which are in Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Then we have OIC. OIC stands for Organization for Islamic Cooperation. That is enough. OIC stands for Organization for Islamic Cooperation, and SASCC stands for South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation. South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation. So, OIC stands for Organization of Islamic Cooperation, whereas SASCC stands for South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation. Then we have refugee policy. Relating refugee policy in India, India do not have a refugee policy or a refugee law. That is an important thing. India does not have a refugee policy, and it also does not have a refugee law. And under India is not a signatory of the UN. India is not a signatory of the 1951 UN Convention relating to the status of refugees. India is not a signatory of 1951. India is not a signatory of 1951 UN Convention relating to the status of refugees. Actually, refugee is nothing but they left their country and they will come to other country to have a shelter. So those refugees, according to the refugee policy, India do not have a refugee policy of its own, and it also do not have any refugee law, and India is also not a signatory of the 1951 UN Convention, which is relating to the status of refugees, and India is also against non-refoulement. Non-refoulement policy is relating to refugees. India is against this non-refoulement policy. Non-refoulement policy is nothing but, under this non-refoulement policy, any person who is going to face threat in their country, threat or any danger in their country, should not be returned back to their country. That is non-refoulement policy, which means no refugee shall be returned to country in which they can face any danger or threat. So India is against this non-refoulement policy also. That are the things which are relating to refugee policy in India. First one is India do not have refugee policy. Second, India do not have refugee law. Third, India is not a signatory of 1951 UN Convention which is relating to the status of refugees. Fourth one is India is against non-refoulement. Non-refoulement is nothing but says that a member who is going to face prosecution or danger or a risk in his country should not be returned back to his country. That is a non-refoulement policy. India is against it. These are the things which are relating to refugee policy in India. Then we have Arctic Council. Arctic Council. Actually, Arctic Council is an intergovernmental forum. Arctic Council is an intergovernmental forum. Under Arctic Council, we have the countries which are in Arctic Circle is CAR, FS and IG, or the countries in Arctic Circle. First one is Canada, Alaska, Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland and Greenland or Denmark. Canada, Alaska is nothing but USA, Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, finally Greenland or Denmark. So these are the countries which are in the Arctic Circle. So Arctic Council is an intergovernmental forum which addresses the issues faced by the indigenous people of the Arctic, and it also addresses the issues faced by the Arctic governments. So Arctic Council is an intergovernmental forum which addresses the issues faced by the Arctic Council as well as the indigenous people of the Arctic. And in Arctic Circle we have CAR, FS and IG, Canada, Alaska, Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland and Greenland, Greenland or Denmark, Alaska or USA. These are the countries which are in the Arctic Council, and under Arctic Council there are 13 countries which are granted observer status. Under Arctic Council, 13 countries are granted observer status, and observer status countries. These countries do not have voting rights, and it is granted in the ministerial conference. This observer status is approved at the ministerial meeting that occur every 2 years. So relating to Arctic Council, it is an intergovernmental forum which addresses the issues faced by Arctic government as well as the indigenous people of Arctic. And under Arctic Council, we have Arctic Circle. The countries in Arctic Circle is Canada, Alaska, Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland and Greenland. And 13 countries are granted observer status under this Arctic Council, and it is approved in the councils of ministerial meetings which occur every 2 years. And then we have GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council. GCC is nothing but Gulf Cooperation Council. This Gulf Cooperation Council contains OUQBSK. These are the members of Gulf Cooperation Council. GCC is Gulf Cooperation Council. Under GCC we have OUQBSK, Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. These are the things which are under the Gulf Cooperation Council. Gulf Cooperation Council is an intergovernmental economic and political union. It is an intergovernmental economic and political union, and under this there are all Arab states. It consists of all Arab states except Iraq. Iraq alone doesn't exist. Apart from it, it contains all Arab states which are in the Persian Gulf. So Gulf Cooperation Council contains OUQ BSK. It is an intergovernmental forum of economic and political union, and under this we have Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And under this Gulf Cooperation Council, it is an intergovernmental political and economical union which contain all the Arab states in the Persian Gulf except Iraq. Then we have SAAC. SAAC is nothing but it is based on Singapore. It is Singapore International Arbitration Center. SAAC stands for Singapore International Arbitration Center. It is based on Singapore and it is a not-for-profit organization. The thing you should notice, it is not-for-profit organization and it is an international arbitration organization. It is a not-for-profit international arbitration organization. It will administer the arbitration under the UN Citral. UN Citral is nothing but United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. So SAAC is Singapore International Arbitration Center. It is a not-for-profit international arbitration organization which administers arbitration under the UN Citral, United Nations Commission on International Trade Law and arbitration rule, and it also has its own rules of arbitration. Under SAAC, the top user of it is India. So India was the top user of the arbitration seat with 485 cases being registered under the SAAC in 2019. So the thing which you should notice why SAAC is important is India is the top user of SAAC with 485 cases being registered in 2019, and it is a not-for-profit company. It is an international arbitration center which administered based on UN Citral arbitration and its own arbitration rules. These are the things which are relating to SAAC. And then we have WSDS. WSDS stands for World Sustainable Development Summit. World Sustainable Development Summit. It is an annual flagship event of the Energy and Resources Institute. So World Sustainable Development Summit. World Sustainable Development Summit. It is an annual flagship event of the Energy and Resources Institute. It addresses the global issues faced by the developing world. Then we have UN Specialized Agency. Actually, UN Specialized Agency is legally independent. That is a thing you should note. We have already seen an UN Specialized Agency, and that is UNCLOS. UNCLOS is also a UN Specialized Agency. United Nations Convention of Law of Sea is a UN Specialized Agency. So UN Specialized Agency is a legally independent one. So UN Specialized Agency is a legally independent one from the United Nations. It has its own rules. UN Specialized Agency will have its own rules. It will have its own memberships. And it also has its own financial resources. This UN Specialized Agency, some of the UN Specialized Agencies are created before the World War, some are created with the League of Nations, and some are created simultaneously when UN was created, and some was created after the UN was created. So some was created by the UN itself. UN has created based on the emerging needs. That is the thing which is relating to UN Specialized Agency. The thing you should notice, UN Specialized Agency is legally independent from UN. It has its own membership, it has its own rules, and it has its own financial resources. And this UN Specialized Agency, some of the UN Specialized Agencies are created before First World War, and some of the UN Specialized Agencies are created with the League of Nations, and some are simultaneously created with the UN, and some was created by the UN itself to meet the emerging needs. So these are the things which are relating to UN Specialized Agency. So let's have a quick recap of the things which we have seen. First one is WHO. We have seen the funding of WHO. There are two types of funding. One is assist contribution and another one is voluntary contribution. Assist contribution contribute 20%, whereas the voluntary contribution contributes the rest 80%. And we have WHO Foundation. WHO Foundation is a legally separate one from WHO, and this assist contribution percentage of the GDP of a country will be paid as assist contribution, and this percentage will be determined every 2 years at the World Health Assembly. And we have Gsp and Mfn, both of it comes under the purview of World Trade Organization. Gsp is generalized system of preferences, whereas Mfn is most favored nations. Under generalized system of preferences, the countries can show differential treatment based on whether the country is developed or less developed, whereas in most favored nation, there is an equal treatment in case of tariff. So that is most favored nation. So both is contradicting, but both comes under the purview of World Trade Organization. And then we have three sisters of the SPS agreement. SPS agreement is Sanitary and Phyto-Sanitary Agreement, which comes under the World Trade Organization. There are three sisters. Three things are called as sisters under this under this SPS agreement, and those are International Plant Production Convention, Codex Alimentarius Commission, and World Organization for Animal Health. And then we have Eastern Economic Forum. Under Eastern Economic Forum, it is an initiative of Russia. First point you should notice, it is an initiative of Russia and it will be held annually. It is an international forum that will be held annually in Russia, Vladivostok. In Vladivostok, Russia, it will be annually held, and it is to promote foreign investment in Russia's Far East. And FOR movement. FOR movement means Faith for Rights movement. It is a movement which is led by UN. It is an initiative of United Nations. It is a UN-led movement against racial and religious hatredness. And then we have ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, actually it is a multilateral body. It is adopted by the United Nations General Assembly. Under this, it says the parties to respect the civil and the political rights of the individual. Under this, it respect right to life, right to religion, right to speech, right to form assembly, electoral rights, and right to due process and fair trial. And then we have GPAA. GPAA is Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. This Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence is an international and multi-stakeholder initiative, and it is the first initiative of its kind to respect the challenges. It sees the challenges relating to artificial intelligence and the opportunities which lies in the artificial intelligence. And this GPA, Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, it is the global reference point on the discussions in responsible AI. And this GPA brings together, it bridges the gap between the practical knowledge and the theoretical knowledge. It gives AI projects. And then we have BIMSTEC. Under BIMSTEC, we have BB-MINS. The countries in BIMSTEC are BB-MINS, which is Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, India, Nepal, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. Under SAARC, we have BB-IN-MAPS. In BB-IN-MAPS, we have Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Maldives, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. And then we have OEF. OEF means Operation Enduring Freedom. It is relating to US government's global war on terrorism, but generally it refers to war on Afghanistan, but it generally refers to anti-terrorism war in other countries also. Counter-terrorism operation, anti-terrorism, it is counter-terrorism operations in other countries also. Then we have NATO. NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. North Atlantic Treaty Organization has 30 member countries. It is its founding treaty is Washington Treaty, and this North Atlantic Treaty Organization, any European state who will obey the principles of this NATO can join, and they should also contribute to the security of the North Atlantic Sea. And this NATO, these are the main things relating to NATO. Then we have FATF, Financial Action Task Force. Under this, we have two lists. One is Greyless and Blacklist. Greyless, the countries in Greylist are the safe haven for money laundering and terrorist activities, whereas the countries in Blacklist are not cooperative against the fight against terrorism and global money laundering. So the countries in Greylist will face something like it will face difficulty in getting loans from World Bank and IMF, and it also get difficulties in international trade. The international trade will be reduced, and it faces international boycott. These are the disadvantages of countries in Greylist. Pakistan is in Greylist. Then we have APEC. APEC is Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, it is an intergovernmental body, and it is recognized as one of the highest multilateral blocks and the oldest forums in Asia Pacific region. And India has requested membership for this APEC, but it has not get membership. So India has requested membership in APEC, and it promotes free trade throughout the Asia Pacific region. That is the important point. It promotes free trade throughout the Asia Pacific region. And G4 nation, there are 4 nations in G4. One is, we have Big J. Big J are the nations which are under G4. Those are Brazil, India, Germany, and Japan. Their main aim is to get permanent seat in United Nations Security Council, whereas in G7 their aim is economic and long-term political motives. They have economic and long-term political motives in G7, whereas in G4 their main aim is to get permanent seat in United Nations Security Council. And then we have UNCLOS. UNCLOS stands for United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. United Nations Convention on Law of Sea is a UN specialized agency under which it has established 2 bodies. One is International Seabed Authority, and another one is International Tribunal for the Law of Sea. Then we have these things. And then we have refugee policy. India do not have a refugee policy, India do not have a refugee law, and India is not a signatory of the 1951 UN convention which is relating to the status of refugees, and India is also against non-refoulement. And Arctic Council, the countries in Arctic Circle is Canada, Alaska, Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland and Greenland. And in Arctic Council, it is an intergovernment forum that discusses the issues faced by the Arctic government as well as the indigenous people of Arctic. And then we have GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, and the Gulf Cooperation Council we have OUQ, BSK, Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. It has all Arab states in the Gulf, in the Persian Gulf except Iraq. Then we have SAAC. SAAC is a Singapore-based organization, Singapore International Arbitration Center. And then we have WSDS. WSDS stands for World Sustainable Development Summit. World Sustainable Development Summit. It is an annual flagship event of the Energy and Resources Institute. And then we have UN Specialized Agency. UN Specialized Agency is legally independent from UN, and it has its own membership, own financial resources, and it has its own rules. And this UN Specialized Agency, some of it is created before First World War, some is created simultaneously with UN, and some is created by the UN itself. These are the things which we have seen in this video. These are the international relations which we have seen, and in next video we can see next 25 international relations. So subscribe to My Lemonade IAS Academy. Thank you.